Welcome back to the start of the show, the start of the year, a brand new season, season 8, right here on the Squatchers Lounge podcast. That's right, Hoaxing Exposed. We're going to take it from the very beginning of who started what, and follow those claims down to why they do it, bring out some of the modern day stuff, and see if we can't prevent some of the community from getting stuck in the same old crap, because most of the hoaxing that goes on, well, it seems to all be the same kind of thing. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am so glad everybody is here. That's right. This week, we're going to be talking about the first supposed hoaxer, and it actually goes back further than that, but the one in modern times, Ray Wallace, starting in the 1950s, along with the Jerry Crew footage, is where we're going to start with it tonight. That's right. We do have an all-new quasi theory from our quasi scientist. That's right, Mr. Dean Cooper. It's not a new one, but it is a new to you. So, yeah, it never got released. The man made it a couple of years ago, and for some reason, never made it to the show. So we're bringing you that new quasi theory again tonight. Camping Tips for Stupids is taking a hiatus, and we wish Jevin luck with the endeavors that he is doing. And right now, I am I'm going to take this off for just a few minutes and go out to this way. Some big news coming up this year. I always start out the beginning of the year to let you guys know the big camping trip this year is going to be August 5th. Through August 9th. There are no holidays during that week or weekend. It is 4 nights, 5 days in the Pai Pai Valley. We're going back down to the Pai Pai campground, gold panning, off-road vehicle riding. If you got dirt bikes and quads, you can grab you a campsite and bring them with you. There'll be swimming and fishing and bigfooting and cooking and eating and sleeping and just a gigantic, beautiful time in a beautiful place. And I will have more information coming up about that, but the dates are August 5th through August 9th. That's right. 2020 is when the big camp out will be this year. We are looking forward to it. So if you want to get a spot, contact me at sloungepodcast@gmail.com and reserve yourself a spot, and we will see how many we get. They do have large group campsites for up to 18 people. So last year, the trip went on. We had a few guests come in, but we had a lot of people cancel at the last minute. So we spent a lot of money that wasn't necessary. So, that's okay. Doesn't matter. I still do this every year. So if you want a spot, sloungepodcast@gmail.com. Just send me an email that says you and how many are in your party, and we will get to it. It is such a beautiful place, and we found some Native American sites when we were out squatching last year that included some natural grain bowls where the women had actually ground thousands upon thousands of pounds of grain to making a bowl in the top of this granite cap right at their campsite. It was crazy. All right. Next thing I wanted to announce right off the top of the show this year, the old Reverend here, the Patreon is about to get very busy because the Reverend is writing a book. That's right. The first ever Bigfoot Campfire Stories book is going to come out. I'm going to be writing it across this next season, the next year. Over the next 12 months, we're going to try and get a chapter done per month and hopefully have that released sometime next spring. So you'll be able to go out camping and read your favorite Bigfoot campfire stories to all the little kitties around the campsite. Yes, it will be child friendly. Let's just put it that way with it. So there won't be any worries about that. The first ever Reverend Jeff's Bigfoot Campfire Stories book will be coming soon. All right, that's 2 big announcements right off the top of the show. 3, Bigfoot Entertainment Monthly. That's right. Our old pal Wes and I used to do Bigfoot Entertainment Weekly, and we quickly burned out on it after about a year and a half. But there has been enough. There's been enough content to come back up, and I've been in contact with Wes, and we are going to continue on and do Bigfoot Entertainment Monthly. So the last show of every month will include your old pal Wes, and we will do we'll bring you up to date on all of the latest entertainment movies and books and TV shows and series, and bring you all up to date on that stuff. So we will be talking about Bigfoot Entertainment Monthly. Will include your old pal Wes on the last show of every month. Yes, that's right. That's exactly what's going on there. Okay. Now, to open up the actual show with a little bit of content, let's take a look at what's going on news-wisey. That's right. We're going to continue on this season with the news. So let's go ahead and get that queued up for you there. Here's an announcement came out for the Folk Monster Campout 2020 that is hosted by Keith Crabtree of the Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. Is going to be in Folk, Arkansas, and there is a Facebook event around it. So if you just search up here in your Facebook for Folk Monster, it will pop up and you can go and check it out if you want to go and be with those guys. I think that's kind of cool myself. Hey, careful what you eat. Yeah, apparently a hunter ate wild rabbit and got the bubonic plague, sending 28 people into quarantine. Yay him. Yeah, you can starve on rabbits, because there's no fat content on them, but I'm still eating rabbits in the wild. I'll take my chances. Yeah, well, this guy was on the Mongolian steppe. He contracted bubonic plague. Chinese health officials said Monday, days after 2 other people from the same region were diagnosed with an even deadlier strain of the disease. A hunter, a 55-year-old man in China's Inner Mongolia, contracted the disease on November 5th and came into contact with 28 people who were subsequently quarantined. Chinese officials said, according to the Associated Press, none of these have shown signs of a fever or other symptoms. So, maybe they can cure it, maybe they can't, but careful of the bubonic plague in China. All right. Most iconic Northern California town that belongs on your bucket list. The Redwood Forest of Humboldt County are home to small old logging towns and big paranormal creature known as Bigfoot. Willow Creek is a tiny town just within 1,710 human residents. It's home to a Northern California legend, which is much larger than the hearts of Northern Californians. Yeah, I've been to Willow Creek several times now. Willow Creek's cool. It's not Bluff Creek. Don't get the mistake. Don't get them confused. You're still a long way from Bluff Creek, where it happened in Willow Creek. But Willow Creek is the town that everything's Bigfoot. Bigfoot Diner, Bigfoot Bank, Bigfoot Hotel, Bigfoot Museum, Bigfoot Books, Bigfoot this, Bigfoot Lumber, Bigfoot Yumba. They used to have a Bigfoot festival. I don't know if they're still doing it anymore. I don't think they had one last year. That's referred to as the Bigfoot capital of the world. It is home of the Willow Creek China Flat Bigfoot Museum. And if you weren't ever a believer before you came to town, you'll be questioning whether or not this gentle giant creature is real. That's right. It's a neat place. Go visit it if you're going through there. If you're up in the Redwoods, it's definitely worth the time to go down through Willow Creek. You never know. You might run across a Sasquatch as you're traveling through town. Apparently, early modern humans cooked starchy foods in South Africa 170 years ago. That's right. Got to have them breads, cakes, and cookies. The inhabitants of a border cave in the Bambo Mountains of, that place in Africa, were cooking starchy plants 170,000 years ago, says Professor Lynn Wadley, a scientist from the Wits Evolutionary Studies Institute at the University of Witwatersrand, South Africa. The discovery is much older than the earlier reports for cooking similar plants, and it provides a fascinating insight into the behavioral practices of early modern humans in South Africa. It also implies that they shared food and used wooden sticks to extract the plants from the ground. Tool use, aha, Beavis. It's extraordinary that such a fragile plant remains have survived for so long, says Dr. Christine Sievers, a scientist from the University who completed the archaeological work with Wadley. So there you have it. 170,000 years ago, they's eating taters, potatoes. As I said, if you do like what we do here at the podcast, check out patreon.com/cryptid corner. That's the Reverend Jeff's Cryptid Corner. This is where you will get updates on the book, audio releases of the Bigfoot campfire stories that are moving from YouTube are all moving up here. I know I haven't been diligent in the last part of the year. Last year, I suffered with some crushing depression. That's difficult for people to admit, but this is a whole new year, and I'm taking a whole new outlook on things, and things are going to change. So be prepared for the Patreon to become very active. There will be free stuff. There will be Patreon supported stuff. $1 is general admission, and that's all it will ever take to get access to all of the files there. So if you like what we do, you want to give us a support, you can throw us a buck, and everything will be joyous, happy, as they say. That's right. Why didn't I do that too? I don't know. But give me just a moment and I will fix that problem, because we are now going to find our Quasi Theorist. In just a moment, I just have to load up something here that I didn't seem to remember to do so beforehand. So put that and that. And I think it's, God, what the heck is it? Oh, I know. No more professional than we were last year, but, shit goes on. There it is. That's what I wanted. Okay. Yep. I know. I'm just... Sorry. Gee. There we go. All right. There we have it. The Quasi Theories with Dean Cooper. Check it out. This one's kind of whack. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Bird melts rock. You may recall the quasi I did on the Maracoxi, the hairy tribe Percy Fawcett found in his travels in Bolivia, Peru, and Brazil. I found out about them while reading Ivan Sanderson's book, Things and More Things. Sanderson found them in the book, Exploration Fawcett, Journey to the Lost City of Z, which was assembled by Fawcett's son Brian from the massive pile of notes and journals Fawcett wrote during his explorations. The movie, The Lost City of Z, was based on the same book. I knew about Percy Fawcett, but had never read the book. Once I read about the Maracoxi, of course, I had to go get the book. The book is an excellent read, full of adventure. It reveals how utterly wild life was early last century in the upper Amazon basin. Most interesting to me, though, is the little tidbits he throws in. Fawcett was primarily a surveyor, with no training in biology or anthropology, so when he comes across something like the Maracoxi, he sees nothing remarkable. I was a biology-geology major, so things like a tribe that, from his description, sound like an early hominid, well, those things kind of pop out at me. The following tidbit popped me right in the brain. I quote, "All through the Peruvian and Bolivian montaña is to be found a small bird like a kingfisher, which makes its nest in neat round holes in the rocky escarpments above the river. I once expressed surprise that they were lucky enough to find nesting holes conveniently placed for them and so neatly hollowed out as though with a drill. The man he was talking to replied, 'They make the holes themselves. I've seen how they do it many a time. I've watched, I have, and seen the birds come to the cliff with leaves of some sort in their beaks, cling to the rocks like woodpeckers do a tree, while they rub the leaves in a circular motion over the surface. Then they would fly off and come back with more leaves and carry on with the rubbing process. After 3 or 4 repetitions, they dropped the leaves and started pecking at the place with their sharp beaks, and here's the marvelous part, they would soon open out a round hole in the stone. Then off they'd go again and go through the rubbing process with leaves several times before continuing to peck. It took several days, but finally they had opened out holes deep enough to contain their nests. I've climbed up and taken a look at them, and believe me, a man couldn't drill a neater hole. I believe, as everyone who has watched them believes, that those birds know of a leaf with juice that can soften up rock till it's like wet clay. Another fellow later told him that he was told by some Indians that the Incans used the same plant juice to soften and mold the rocks they used for their buildings, like at Machu Picchu. Fawcett never did find out what plant the birds and Incans used. Indians he queried said they knew, but they wouldn't tell him. They said they'd been screwed over by the Europeans enough, what with being enslaved for the rubber tree plantations, tortured where to find more gold, and what all. They didn't want to give Whitey yet another reason for wrecking the hunting by building yet another plantation system. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
There you go. The quasi theory from the quasi scientist himself, Mr. Dean Cooper. All right, folks, here's the part where we say hi to y'all because, you guys are the ones that make the show. I do this for you. I certainly don't do it for the money, and I certainly don't do it for YouTube. I do all of this for you guys. All right, so we see who's out in the hangout tonight live. We got Mr. Rootman. He's hanging out with us as well as Mr. Shane Barber. How you doing there, my friend? Frank G's in the house. That's right. Gotta get it. Yep. Let's see here. We've got Miss Natalie Smith. How you doing, Natalie? Glad you're feeling well enough to watch the show live tonight. Let's see who else we got. Stephen Christensen. Hello there. How are you? Is back. Great at you. The Never Ending Saga. Hello there. Glad you are with us. Mr. Rod Dupree. He's always in the place to be. I'm glad you're with us, sir. Josu Salazar. And there's Mr. A new year, a new sneeze right all over the microphone. Hello, Ken. All right, we're moving on up. There's Miss Bella. Hello, Miss Alegria. Glad you are with us as well. The Reverend Matthew Gaines. Hello, Reverend. That's right. Moving on down. There's Lance Windsor from the Great White North. Oh, it's got to be cold up in that mofo right about now. By the way, my show is not for children. Just, in case YouTube's watching and they want to break the algorithm or whatever, my show is not made for children. Here we go. Public service announcement. Can Squanch in the house. How you doing there, Can Squanch? There's the Quasi Theories, Mr. Reverend Dean Cooper. Reverend. All right, moving on down. There's Don Rife. Hello there, the big Viking from up north. Mr. Dave Jackson in the house. Hello there, Dave. Keith Harden. That's right. How you doing there, champ? Dee Dee's in the house as well. Hello there, Dee Dee. All right. We got Pedro Lopez. Hello. I'd like you to meet my Spanish cousin, Pedro Lopez. My cousin from another mother. Let's see here. Mr. Fang. Tree. Hello there, Mr. Fang. Glad you were with us. I keep calling him Fang. No, his name is Bang. Balls of Fury. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's hilarious. There's Aaron Duncan. Hello there, Aaron. Hey, we're talking about a redwood strip in May. So, I'll have to get you some dates. We're going to be up that way. Let's see who else. Show me Squatch. There you go, Sasquatch. I'll show you a Sasquatch. All right. It's usually my soap after I'm done in the shower with it. Sorry. Keith Smith. Hello there. So glad you were with us. 4 a.m. in Ireland. Man, that is late. I'm talking late. So glad you are with us. You must be drinking. Let's see here. Who else is in the house with us tonight? Karen Rob's in the house. Hello there, Miss Karen Robb. And I have gotten to the bottom. So if I didn't say hi to you, then I don't know you're here. And that would make it kind of difficult. So big shout out to my son Sean and Connor, and hope you guys are doing well and the new year is doing things like it's supposed to be, and we will move right along. Okay, thank you guys for being here live. Let's get into the show tonight. We are talking about the Wallace, Mr. Raymond Wallace, born 1918. 21st April 1918 in Missouri. He died in November 26, 2002, at the age of 84. Now, they say he's the man that created the Bigfoot phenomenon. In 1958, with the help of his brother Wilbur, he carved 16-inch feet shaped with toes into shoes to make tracks. The tracks were then made by Ray and Wilbur, who would wear these shoes on their feet and walk around. In 1958, a man working for a construction company in Humboldt County, California, found the footprints and reported them to the authorities, setting off a worldwide frenzy. Now, the Humboldt Times called it the Bigfoot phenomenon, and in a front page story from 1958 onwards, there were numerous sightings of Bigfoot, including a videotape, which is not true, it's actually film, pictures, and eyewitness accounts, but to this day, nothing has ever been proven about his existence. Wallace died on November 26, 2002, at his home in Seattle, but his death wasn't released to the public until December 6th, just a few weeks later. Now, I'll bring up this picture for you guys so you can see it here on the site. There we go. There we go. Yep, that one there. Now, this picture here, on the left-hand side of this is the Wallace cutout footprint. You can definitely see that it looks as though it's a stamp. Solid square toes, no flexibility in them whatsoever. The shape of the entire foot just doesn't give a natural surround at all. Now, Jerry Crew was the one that reportedly found the first footprint there in 1958 along the logging road. Demonstrates that it's not even the same track made by the same foot whatsoever. So apparently there are two things going on here. Now, Wallace, the Wallace scam is, according to the BFRO, ensnares some of the Hollywood producers. Some folks in Hollywood apparently didn't get the memo or didn't get it in time. Month after Wallace's famous bogus story about their deceased veracity challenged father was thoroughly scientifically debunked by Dr. Jeff Meldrum of Ohio State University and Canadian journalist John Green. A newly formed production company in Hollywood has announced plans to produce a documentary based on the discredited Wallace story. To see, someone needs to send them another memo to actor Judge Reinhold and producer Eric Jalderman before they make fools of themselves again. See, in 2002, it was, when these footprints had first come out. There they are, the blocks there. That's a picture of Wallace's son, who broke the story that, his father was the man behind all of the Bigfoot tracks. He created the legend. He invented the legend. There's no reason to look for Bigfoot anymore. Now that Dad's dead, we can tell the whole story. And there were documentaries that came out time and again that showed him being pulled behind a tractor and just making big, giant jumps as the tractor pulls them along to put giant spaces between the footprints. But we're trying to figure out why people would do such a thing. I mean, where would you even come up with the idea for these types of things? And I found the craziest article that just actually got released today, the Lewis County Tribune, Wednesday, January 8th, 2020. That's might just be giving me today's date, but the true legend of Toledo's Bigfoot. The Sasquatch, commonly known as Bigfoot, stepped into the national spotlight 60 years ago in the woods of Northern California, but the legend of the shaggy and reclusive forest creature who leaves behind large footprints began long before that. Bigfoot's local origins can be traced back to a small group of fun-loving loggers from Toledo, Washington. Toledo resident Don Booswell, 95, said the tradition was started by a group of loggers and foresters up at Mount St. Helens as early as the 1930s. He said the young men got a kick out of scaring huckleberry pickers by leaving footprints in the snow melt and soft mountain pumice. The group came to call themselves the St. Helen Apes. Bushwell said that the late Rant Mullins of Toledo fashioned a set of large feet out of soft alder wood using a jackknife. Mullins and a friend made big footprints around the huckleberry pickers' cars and then waited by the ranger station to watch the berry pickers come back and report it. That's when it got started, Bushwell said. They made the tracks where they knew people would find them. That pummy snowmelt made beautiful tracks. The 8 caves, lava tubes, and the Gifford National Forest located up the road was discovered in 1947 and was named after a scout troop sponsored by the St. Helen Apes that first explored the caves. Now, Humboldt County in 1958, the wild apes of Mount St. Helens remained a local legend until Toledo's Ray Wallace was looking for a way to deter thieves and vandals from messing with his construction equipment at a job near the Hoopa Indian Reservation in Humboldt County in Northern California the summer of 58. People were sabotaging his equipment, said Mike Wallace, 69, one of Ray's sons who grew up living in the logging camps and now lives south of Toledo. Mike said that the vandals were basically drunks who went out and destroyed stuff after the workers left for the day. Dad got this great idea to get these feet carved up and make some prints around to scare people off. Wallace said Ray asked his Toledo neighbor Rant Mullins to carve some large feet and send them to him, with the idea that once the rumor got started, the vandals would quit bothering their equipment. Jerry Crew was working for the Wallace Brothers Logging Company near Bluff Creek in the summer of 1958. One morning, Crew discovered large footprints near his bulldozer and reported the incident to Foreman Wilbur Shorty Wallace, Ray's brother and Mike's uncle. Wilbur reportedly told Crew to get back to work, but to stay alert for unusual activity. Mysterious footprints continued to appear throughout the summer wherever the Wallace brothers were working. Eventually, Crew was able to capture plaster casts of a large, dusty footprints, and he showed this evidence to a local newspaper. Mike Wallace was in a different version of the story. He said Dad went out and waited for Jerry to shut down the cat and leave. He said as soon as Jerry was gone, Ray started up the cat, went over and squeezed a barrel of oil and threw it over the bank. Ray parked the cat on its original place, then got out and made the footprints around the cat using the wooden feet Mullins had sent him. When Jerry came back in the morning, he saw the tracks around the cat and just freaked out, Mike said. He went into Willow Creek to tell everyone. Somebody called the newspaper in Eureka, and the head reporter came out, took some photographs, and wrote up a story. The Humboldt Times newspaper of Eureka, California, was the first to call the creature Bigfoot, and eventually the story was distributed by the Associated Press nationwide. That was when the decision time for Dad, Mike Wallace, said he realized this was a huge, and all of a sudden the world was talking about this sighting. And there are some pictures of the footprints. No two footprints were identical, but they are quite similar in size and appearance. There's a photograph of one of them stamped into what looks like some sand or concrete in 1957. And again, as we looked at the picture as compared to the Wallace footprint and the Jerry Crew footprint, neither one of them are the same. They're completely different. So either he had several tracks, sets of feet, which none of the reports are saying, or there's something else going on here besides him making fake tracks, moving it around. Just like when somebody starts a rumor and the rumor turns out to be true, it may end up being one of those simple types of things. Now, Ray Wallace was a hardworking family man who grew up in Toledo and had been an aircraft gunner in World War II. His close friend says Ray was known for doing harmless pranks for fun, like dropping a firecracker down a chimney to scare his friends after a long day of working in the woods. These guys would come into the camp at night and would be sitting by the stove playing cards, and Dad would go up on the roof, Mike said, and get one of those M80s he'd wrapped up in a wet newspaper with a long fuse so it wouldn't go off right away, and he'd drop it down the chimney into the stove. Then he'd come in and sit down, and when everyone at the card table, and a few minutes later, boom, the lids would fly off the stove. Ray would act surprised and say it must be the firewood, adding that Ray would never confess to doing any of his pranks. So when the Bigfoot story broke, he just ran with it. Mike said. It was the great opportunity to have a ball. He would select people, cousins and relatives who were working for him. They'd get in on it together. Those guys didn't have television in those days, so they made their own fun. They weren't hurting anyone. They were flat out having a ball and laughing. We're still laughing. Don Boozwell still recalls helping Ray make tracks in the thick dust by strapping the wooden feet over his boots. The dust was so thick in Northern California, it ran like water down the road. And that's actually very true. Adding that it didn't rain from April to Thanksgiving. I put the feet on and I hung on to the back of his pickup, and then we went real slow down this dusty road, taking long steps. And I tell you that they're eerie, even if you made them yourself. You look back and see them, and they're kind of weird. So, I mean, the idea is a conflict between the two things, but there's no doubt that Ray Wallace faked tracks in Humboldt County in the late 1950s, and the reasons behind it for him doing so. That becomes the question of it. When you compare the tracks from the area that John Green had cast, there are quite a few casts from the area, from Onion Lake, from places that these people hadn't gone, and in areas that people would not have found them, that don't look like stamped out, hand-carved wooden feet. So again, we may just simply have one of those situations where something did exist and somebody wanted to create it more often than it was happening. So they carved out the feet to replicate the other things that are being found in this particular case, to keep the drunks away from messing up his construction equipment. You know, the stories are going to go back and forth, and we're probably never really going to know the truth of it all. We always say there's three sides to every story. There's your side, there's my side, and then there's the truth somewhere in between. So, okay, Boomer, don't be mean to Dean, because I'll call you a Tide Pod eater. That's going to do it for our discussion on Ray Wallace. I don't know what to say. I mean, me personally, I don't believe Ray Wallace created the Bigfoot legend. I think Ray Wallace used the tracks that were being found, had some feet created so that he could use them to his advantage. And from there, it just kind of intertwined between the two. But as it says, you know, Dr. Meldrum, you know, being a foot guy, I'll take his word for that. Definitely is able to tell the difference between stamped out feet and non-stamped out feet, something with a dynamic foot that moves within its structure. So that's going to bring it up to our first edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast this week. We are so glad that everybody is here. It's going to be a little bit of a short adventure for me. I am going to extend these out as we go along. I do not have a Bigfoot campfire story for you tonight. I do apologize for that, but I just ran out of time trying to get graphics and everything else going for this week. Next week, the Bigfoot campfire story at the end of the show will most definitely return. And with that, I want to thank every single one of you guys for being out there tonight. And
I'm here to do one thing, is to bring one of these creatures back. I don't want to talk right now.
So don't get mad.
Just keep the camera off right now, okay? I said I don't want to talk. You got it? Joan, get me a Snapple.
The show is not brought to you by Snapple. Come on out and see us on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/SLounge. And if for some reason the channel disappears on Facebook, on YouTube, that's exactly where you will find us. So we'll see you again next week. So glad everybody could come out, and I am looking forward to the rest of the season. I am the Reverend Jeff Kelly, the Squatchers Lounge podcast, and we'll see you next week. May the Squatch be with you.